Good morning, everyone. I speak for the faculty and staff and our student body. We are so incredibly thrilled to have you here as guests, family members, active duty veterans. We're so thrilled that you were able to join us today, and we're so glad to be back in person in the gym with all of our students, teachers, and staff. So thank you for coming in. We have been doing a veterans program, a recognition program, for 15 years, and the last couple we've had to modify, but now we're back in person. I'm Dr. Polly Reikowski, the principal of the school, and on behalf of all of us, I say welcome. My duty here is to introduce your MC, Mr. Paul Kovac, who is a Marine Corps veteran and a business teacher and leader in our building. Paul?
Thank you, Dr. Reikowski. Good morning. My name is Paul Kovac, and I am a Marine and an Eagan High School teacher. Today's assembly will be available for viewing on the front page of the Eagan High School webpage. Before we start, I'd like to give a special welcome to our Superintendent, Mary Krieger, somewhere in the back I saw her, and our Director of Community Ed, Ms. Kaya Brown, also somewhere in the back. Thank you for being here today with us. Now, I respectfully ask that all audience members now stand and please remove your hats as members of the Daniel R. Olson American Legion Post 594 Color Guard posts our colors. Please remain standing for the Star-Spangled Banner and the Pledge of Allegiance. Members of the Eagan High School Concert Choir, under the direction of Miss Amy Jo Turner and Mr. Jim Cox, will now sing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Concert Choir. I would like to introduce Mr. Chris McDonald, an Army veteran and Eagan High School Director of Debate, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I would now like to welcome Miss Amanda Adams, Eagan High School social studies teacher, the wife of a veteran and the daughter of a veteran. Miss Amanda Adams.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Paul. I would like to extend a heartfelt welcome to everyone here today. If this is your first time celebrating with us, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. It is truly wonderful to see you. When I think about the military, I think about a number of phrases and acronyms that come to mind, but the phrase monitor and adjust specifically stands out, and I think that really encapsulates what we've all been doing for the past few years. It feels good, if not a bit overwhelming, to be back in our gym for, dare I say, a normal Veterans Day celebration. One thing that can help ground us in times of uncertainty is understanding that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. A community, a school, a participant in traditions. Shared experiences and all of their triumph and heartbreak are what bind us together as humans. It is appropriate then to take a minute today and remind ourselves about the American tradition of Veterans Day. Veterans Day is dedicated to American veterans of all wars, and Veterans Day began as a celebration to honor the armistice that ended the Great War in 1918. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, an armistice, or temporary halting of hostilities, was declared between the Allied nations and Germany in World War I. Veterans Day pays tribute to all American veterans, living or dead, but especially gives thanks to living veterans who served their country honorably during war or peacetime. There are celebrations of this type all around the country today and throughout the state of Minnesota. As Dr. Reikowski said, we've been celebrating in this way for the past 15 years. We come together as a community to engage in the celebration of our veterans, their families, and their experiences. Students, although many of you have not been to this event before, you are part of that tradition, a legacy, if you will, that EHS has decided is important for a moment for us to pause and participate in collectively. Each year, we ask a community member to come to our event and share with us. We are deliberate and discerning in our choice of who we invite to speak. It is never political or a recruitment. Our keynote speakers have represented every single branch of the military service. We've had decorated officers and those who were drafted at 18. We've had career soldiers and students that were alumni from Eagan High School. We've had those currently serving and children of EHS staff come and share their stories. We look to them to widen our own experiences and our understanding. We look to them to connect to where we are as a community. This year, it is my honor to introduce our speaker, Kimberly Wachter. Kimberly is new to our building, but certainly not to the military, and we are so glad that she is here. Originally from Massachusetts, she had two grandfathers and a grandmother that were in the military, and although enlisting hadn't really been much of a thought for her, like many young men and women of her generation, the events of 9/11 changed things for her. She joined the the Navy Reserves, and found herself in active duty because she was good at her job. In her role as an aircraft mechanic, she specialized in hydraulic systems and structures. Her military career brought her all over the United States, Connecticut, Washington, Hawaii, where she met and married her husband. Once she got out of the military herself, Kimberly stepped right into the lead role for the family and soldier readiness groups and worked tirelessly to support families of soldiers in her husband's company. She is a tireless advocate for military families, mother of two amazing children, and wife of Bryce, who recently returned 4 weeks ago from a deployment to Central Europe. They have weathered 7 such deployments together. Personally, I am grateful for people like Kimberly, who willingly stepped into the role to support families during stressful and sometimes frightening times of deployment. She's going to share a few of her thoughts with you today. Please help me welcome our keynote speaker, Kimberly Wachter.
Thank you, Ms. Adams, for that introduction. Welcome to distinguished guests, veterans, their families, Gold Star families, students, staff of Eagan High School, and our community members. When I was first asked to speak to you today, my first thought was, what could I possibly say to not only honor the veterans that we have here today and those that could not be with us, but also something that makes sense for high school students that are both beginning and coming to the end of their high school careers, as well as all those in between. Should I talk to you about the honor of continuing my family's tradition of military service? I am the granddaughter of 3 veterans that served during the time of World War II and the Korean War. Would I talk about the courage it took for me to take a page out of my grandmother's playbook and join the Navy, because the other ones were in the Army? Or the courage that it required every time my husband and I said, "See you later." Or the courage to answer my children's questions every time they say why and when. Could I speak to you about the continued commitment over the last 13 years as a military spouse and readiness liaison with the Marine Corps and the Army, working with Marines, soldiers, and their families through joys and challenges that they face every day? Instead, I would like to speak to you about your legacy. When I was young, I was told by someone much smarter than me, something that stuck with me my whole life, and I would like to share it with you. She told me, "You are the legacy you leave behind, and you get to choose what that legacy is." You have the power to choose your legacy through your commitment to your families, your school, your community. We are here to support you, each and every one of you, to leave a better tomorrow than today. The challenges that we face are made to strengthen ourselves, our relationship as individuals, and the community as a whole. Many of the veterans that you see before you today and around the country, as well as their families, continue to serve long after they take off their uniform. They can be seen across the nation supporting our troops and their families when they go to war, welcoming them home when they return. They volunteer in jobs that give other veterans the care they deserve. And when America's heroes are laid to rest, they are there as a reminder of their service, sacrifice, courage, and contributions to our grateful nation. The true strength and legacy of all of our armed forces is seen in the men and women who wear the uniform now and in the past. To our veterans, the time that you spend in the uniform, the interests of the nation always come first, and those burdens are shared by family members who make many sacrifices of their own, face separation during deployments, and sometimes bear permanent loss. But there are rewards. There's the pride of developing one's character and becoming a leader, serving a cause far greater than any self-interest, and the nobility of protecting our nation. Every man and woman who wears America's uniform is part of a long, unbroken line of achievement and honor. And no single military power in history has done greater good, shown greater courage, liberated more people, or upheld higher standards of decency and valor than the armed forces of the United States. So today it's our privilege to say thank you to all of America's veterans in your quiet courage and exemplary service, and to let you know that we are grateful and acknowledge the many sacrifices and accomplishments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wachter. The EHS Concert Choir, under the direction of Ms. Amy Jo Turner, Mr. Jim Cox, and accompanied by Ms. Nicole Marshall, will now sing "We Rise Again."
Sure as the wind in the trees.
Thank you, Concert Choir. We would now like to honor the service to our country by the men and women who are guests today in a unique musical fashion. The Armed Forces Salute that will be performed by the Eagan High School Wind Ensemble under the direction of Mr. Michael Pearson will proudly honor the branches of our armed forces. With the assistance of Mr. Randy Schaefer, the band will perform the recognized service songs of the Army, Coast Guard, Marines, Air Force, and the Navy. As each selection is introduced by Mr. Schaefer, we ask that our honored guests rise for their service song. We also invite their spouses of the veterans to accompany them in this honor. Please be seated at the end of your branch's song. To the audience, it is indeed appropriate to honor each of these branches of service with your applause.
United States Army. United States Coast Guard. United States Marines. United States Air Force. United States Navy.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And just for the record, we do have one Coast Guard member in the back, member of our color guard. You couldn't see him, but he was standing. To get a sense of the scope of the veterans in our community, I would like to recognize the different members of our audience today. As your group is mentioned, please stand and remain standing. I'd like to start with a special group of young people here at Eagan High School. If you have recently enlisted or are planning to enlist this year in the military, please stand. I ask all current members of the military active duty and their spouse and family members to stand. If there are any Gold Star families who are families who have lost a family member in the service to our country, please stand. Veterans and their families, please stand to be recognized for your service to our country. If you know a veteran or someone currently serving in our military, please stand. And would anyone who wished to thank a veteran for their sacrifices, please stand. And if you're able, please keep standing because we have a few things to end the ceremony, but it's going to require some standing. The U.S. flag that is here on stage was given to the Eagan High School Band in remembrance of Lance Corporal Daniel Olson. He's one of their own from the class of 2005. He died while serving his country in Iraq on April 2nd, 2007. Please remain standing as the color guard advances to retire colors and to remember Daniel and all veterans and their sacrifices with a moment of silence. You may be seated. This concludes our program today. I want to thank everyone in attendance. Students, please be sure to say thank you to a veteran on your way out. You will be going to third hour. And veterans, thank you for being with us here today.